Welcome to Investors Insights. We're honored today here at Five Plan Partners to have Senator Dale Marsh. Senator Marsh is Senate Pro Tem of the Alabama Senate, and he is also a business owner. He gives an incredible perspective, not only on the legislation and the leadership that takes place here in the state of Alabama, but also from a business perspective. Senator Marsh, we thank you for being here today. You just gave a great presentation and speech to some of our folks at a luncheon. Very insightful. And I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Greg, it's been my pleasure to be here, and I also had a good time talking to your group today.
Well, they all thoroughly enjoyed it. And I wanted to have this time just to talk a little bit. Our viewership, of course, is always interested in terms of what's going on in the state of Alabama. And, of course, it also ties into the economics of Alabama. We have business owners that watch our blog. And so I wanted to ask you, what are the two things that you feel like are facing our state that we really need to address as a state and as citizens and voters of Alabama?
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, as I said earlier today, and I see as we go into the next quadrennium, you got an election in November. You're going to have a fair amount of new people in the legislature. I mentioned probably 14 new faces in the Senate,
right,
with a body of 35, and then the House have another 30 faces and 105 body. But the two issues that have such impact and really broader than just education, for instance.
Right.
We all think about education, our K through 12, our children.
Sure.
But education affects so many things in our society. I
Right.
mentioned prisons, for instance.
Right.
A stat I gave that,
yeah, 60%
of our prison population does not have a high school education. So there's a direct correlation of education to a chance of perhaps ending up in prison. And
right.
You take healthcare issues. We have a high degree of obesity in the state. And I think some of that is poor health habits of our citizens through bad education policy.
Right.
So education is an area that we have got to invest in as a state. And we've been looking for months since the legislature last finished up about how can we step up the game in education in the state of Alabama. We want to see more people wanting to go into the teaching profession. We think to do that, we've got to find ways to provide more dollars in education to do that. We have a good economy right now. I think we're at 3.6% unemployment.
Absolutely, sure.
That has brought more money into the coffers, if you will, so we have more money to look at, to spend in education. At the same time, we want to make sure that with that we have good accountability. Parents generally want to know that their children have a chance to get a good education in a safe place.
Right, absolutely.
Governor Ivey's done a good job of the safety issue, bringing a panel together, look at issues we can do to improve safety. So education is going to be an issue that we think we're going to have to make more investment in because it pays off for the state in so many ways. The state of Alabama,
knowledge is a powerful thing.
It is. And if we look at the economy, and many of your members or business owners perhaps still, or we're business owners, understand that if you have a good, strong economy, it's good for business. If you have a pro-business economy, it's good for business.
Very much so.
And the state has done that. We've passed some 80 pro-business bills in the last 10 years. We want to make sure that we offer our citizens a chance that they may be down to 3.6% unemployment, but maybe some of those people are underemployed.
Right.
We're going to find ways to allow them perhaps an occupational change, a vocational change. They can maximize their potential,
sure,
and improve the quality of their lives.
Yeah.
So education is a way to do that. So that's one of the areas you're going to see, I hope, that we make some real commitments in. The other one's infrastructure.
Yeah, talk about that. I was fascinated by the numbers you gave.
Yeah, and the state of Alabama, the last time we had a tax in infrastructure was in '92. That's equivalent to 26 years. It was not a percentage; it was a flat number. So basically, it'd be like someone not getting a pay raise for 26 years. That's
true.
That's what it is. Add on to that most people, probably in your listening audience as well, are driving an automobile that gets to a third more miles to the gallon than it did back in '92. Right. So you're putting more miles on the road for the same amount of money that hasn't increased in 26 years.
Sure.
So, infrastructure, one of those areas. And anybody that's has been in business knows this as well. You got to have access to your business. You have good infrastructure in your state. And if we don't invest in infrastructure and keep up with that competitive advantage with our neighboring states and others, then we're really not doing justice to the citizens of the state. So we have got to ask ourselves if we're going to make investments in infrastructure as well. And I can promise you this: if there's any movement there to bring more revenue into the infrastructure, there will be strong accountability with it. For instance, 35% of any money that comes in for roads and bridges now goes automatically back to cities and counties to spend in their areas they want, as long as it's on roads and bridges.
Right.
We'll make sure that the legislature has oversight on a specific list of projects to be accomplished with those dollars. Mm-hmm. We're going to be, good stewards of the citizens' tax dollars.
Right.
And anything that would be raised for infrastructure will go to infrastructure.
Well, and you brought up a point in the luncheon about the fact that I think you said, was it 60% of the tax charged at the gas pump? Is from people just passing through the state.
Yeah, the state of Alabama has a pretty robust infrastructure interstate.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people come through our state.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if you look at the tax on fuel, it's estimated that 60% of that is really paid for people out of state. So it helps that we all benefit from that in the state of Alabama. But yeah, it is truly paid by others. But generally when I talk to people, and they realize that it's been 26 years, no increase.
Yeah.
And they acknowledge the fact that we all want good roads and bridges and safe. I mean, let's face it, we've got 400 bridges in the state of Alabama right now that are slated for repair or replacement. And many of these bridges, in some cases, they're closed to school bus traffic and heavy equipment because they're not safe to go over. So, this is something that most citizens I talk to understand, but it's a commitment we've got to make, and we've got to be ready to make that commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also every business model is changing because of technology, and as electric cars continue, they're not going to be paying anything at the pump.
In the legislation we're looking at, there's a provision that electric cars pay when they pick up their tag.
Okay.
It's based on what they assume is estimated mileage they put in. You're based on battery life.
Right.
So those things are all being looked at because you're right, technology has changed things.
Sure.
And we've got to be in a position to address that. And because I'm convinced that each year you're going to have a higher percentage of electric vehicles on the road, which is a good thing.
Sure.
Okay, but especially as battery life increases.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I also want to thank you for your high standard of ethics and your leadership. We can't thank you enough for that. That speaks volumes of you as a person, and the way you've also been able to get people to come together and work towards passing bills. I think you got 80 bills passed this last session.
Well, actually, it's been for the last few years. We've kept total of about 80 bills pro-business.
Pro-business.
We passed a lot of bills, but pro-business bills.
Pro-business, yeah.
And I believe this. I believe that if you've got a strong business climate in the state, it helps. It's good for everybody.
Right.
And I think that 3.6% unemployment is a testament to that.
Sure.
So we're going to continue to work to just create a really strong. We're ranked as one of the top states in the country in business climate. We want to stay that way.
Right.
We want to have reasonable tax base, and we're going to stay there. We're not sitting there talking about these issues where we want to bring our taxes up crazy. But we've got to be able to have a decent, strong, really, education system and infrastructure. So we've got to look at that.
And then I'll also say this. We have a saying here at File Plan Partners, there's only 24 hours in the day, and you choose how you invest it or spend it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And in your life, as a husband, as a father, as a business owner, you made a decision to take some of your time to represent the state of Alabama. At what point was it that pivotal moment when you said, I want to do this? And then also, you have to have a passion and a care for people in this state to do it. So, just from the heart, tell me.
Business has always been my real passion. In fact, the legislature is a part-time position, as you know.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Most folks' lives, our families are number one, and then our business is right there with it. But what we have to realize, and I would rather be in my office doing my business than anything.
I'm sure.
But we have to have people willing to step in and work in government issues, because if you don't create the right climate, in my case, literally, it was an issue I had that I did not think business was being treated fairly that got me involved in politics. I'd never been involved in politics before. I ran, really not knowing what I was doing, and got elected. But I realized the importance of business people taking time out of their lives to spend in the Alabama legislature to create policy that in the long term it creates this climate of pro-business, which helps the whole economy. And I, it's been very gratifying to me. You mentioned something that's true, and I tell my kids this all the time. Tell them this: time is the most valuable commodity you have.
And we agree.
I don't care how much money you have, you can't buy any more of it.
Absolutely.
And
everybody gets 24 hours in a day.
That's it. So you better, okay, what do I want to do with my time? How can I make a difference? And yeah, I might could spend that time in my business and make more money over the end of that. But how much is enough? And then if you're not improving the climate and the quality of life for others, what good is it?
Absolutely.
So I have no regrets for the time I've spent in the legislature. I'm proud of other people who are willing to spend that time. And I tell you, I work with some great people, both the Senate and the House. And by and large, they're there for the right reasons. We've heard some problems with ethics in areas, but by and large, these people are doing the right thing.
Right.
And so I think the state's very fortunate to have this group of men and women. And we'll continue. I'm very positive going to this next quadrennium. We're going to see continued good business growth and business principles. And we'll work closely with organizations and people like yourself to make sure we stay on that path.
That's great. King, thank you enough for this time. And also just know that your leadership has had a huge rippling effect on a lot of businesses and a lot of families in the state of Alabama. And we thank you for that.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to spend time with Senator Dale Marsh and myself. We hope you've gotten a lot of benefit out of this. And then also what I really appreciate, those of you that have been watching from your home, your laptop, in the coffee shop, your phone, wherever, that you've also taken time as we've done these to share it with others. Hopefully you've heard some incredible information here and the quality of leadership that we have in Alabama. We thank you for your time, and we also thank you for the confidence you've placed in us. Have a great week.